Yes, let's begin at 6:06.
All right.
So we have from who I can see, we're missing both Dales.
Yes, we are.
And also I don't see Cheyenne or Alex.
Right. Oh, okay. You're right. Everybody else is here.
Yep. Okay, great.
So let me skip to part of our staff update so we can talk about Alex. So Alex wonderfully got a job as an on-call library clerk here at our library. So she can no longer be a volunteer on the board, of course. So I just spoke with her today to ask her how she wanted, if she wanted to come to the meeting. I told her I would pay her as a staff person if she wanted to say goodbye, or if she just wanted me to announce it. And she said, what have you done before? I said, well, this has never happened before. But I told her, I said I thought either way would work. So she decided she wouldn't come and make me pay her to come. So yeah, so she started last week, was her first day of training. And she has a bunch of training days this month. So I asked her to think about who she might know, who might be interested. And she said she had some ideas already. She hadn't realized that she couldn't be on the board when she took the job, of course. But she said she already had some ideas of who might be able to replace her. So
second person had approached me when I asked. But Alex had already told me she was applying. So now I have to think of who that second person was.
yeah, okay, yeah. She represents Hoodland, so, which I told her is always, those are hardest to fill because fewer people and I don't get to see them very often, so I don't, yeah.
There was somebody who was interested and they had just moved to the mountain. And I don't think they applied because they knew someone.
So is there a boundary which, is it past like Alder Creek or?
Close to the, that's about right.
Alder Creek,
Yeah, that's about right.
Is it essentially the Hoodland School District boundary?
That or the fire district boundary, it's a similar.
Yeah.
They're probably one and the same, but
Because it is right around Alder Creek.
So Alex is definitely excused from this meeting tonight.
I actually talked with her on the day of her interview, so I'm thrilled she got the job.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Fabulous. Okay. We've got our roll call. And do you want to go, Sarah? You said you wanted to go. Well, you just did. That was a staff update you wanted to give us.
We've got, I'll just give you the rest of the staff update for staffing.
Yeah.
So we hired 2 on-call substitute clerks, Alex, and then a young woman named Haley Young, I think, who is, she was a student at Portland State University and she works for Hooligan Press. But she was looking for some additional job opportunities. So we hired those 2 substitute clerks, and then we just hired 2 new shelvers who started today. We have a shelver who's leaving to go to college. Maya is going to, I think, Western Washington University. And so her last day will be September 18th. So we hired 2 teenagers who are each going to work 2 days a week.
Great.
So Noah Woodard and Chloe Hager. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, so that's exciting.
Good. Now we can start picking their brains.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Utilizing their ideas, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Well, way to fill those spots, Sarah.
I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen so everybody can see the today's agenda, how about? Let's find it, there we go, it's not sorry, okay. So was everybody be able to access you've already been doing it with city council, the new format? Everybody was able to access it well?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
This is better. I know it's a learning curve for you, Sarah, but this is a much better platform in my opinion.
Good,
I had the same sense.
wonderful.
The thing that I found is that when you go online to look at it, you know, you can kind of download either a PDF or HTML version, and the HTML version has the links highlighted, so that when you click on them, you know, like that thing that the library district advisory committee update would be, you know, you could click on that and it would take you to that letter automatically.
It does, and I think this is the PDF and or maybe it's, I don't know which one it is actually.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that way. Yeah, it used to be at the top.
Is it, okay, so you can still click on the blue underlined
Oh, on the
PDF
blue,
and get it,
oh.
yeah.
I never said it was blue. Okay. Good.
Okay, let's go to agenda. You see the agenda up there and last meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to that? From our July meeting?
Nope.
Okay, that's a long silence, so I'll take that as a no. And all in favor of approving the July 5th board meeting minutes? Please say aye, since we don't have all visuals.
I,
I don't think we can.
Yeah,
we weren't here.
yeah, so. we can't say
Any
that.
opposed, any
But you-
opposition?
In order to have a quorum, all four of you have to be.
Is it enough that we read them?
Yes,
Okay.
but you don't, yeah, as a voter, yeah.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah.
We've got all thumbs up here, Heather.
Okay. Meeting minutes approved. And then we go to the new business already with revisions to the selection policy.
So most of the changes are in blue on the sheet. I don't know that I was able to point that out anywhere. And the main changes, so I just changed like himself to themselves and to they. And then the main additions were the Library of Things collection, and then the request for reconsideration of materials to try to set some standard ideas. So we haven't had any additional challenges to our books here at the library, but we've been getting lots of questions, especially with the current teen Take and Make is making banned book magnets. So we're pointing out that censorship is, so I mean, we're hoping to engage the community, but we've been having lots of conversations with people about our selection policies and things like that. So we've been, of course, watching. Yeah, we've been, of course, watching lots of webinars with best practices in them, and they all suggested making sure that you have certain things in your selection policy. And that is the pieces that we have added to this selection policy. Great. So namely, how many items somebody can challenge, and how often an item can be challenged. So those were the things that we added to the policy, other than the Library of Things.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So it says if somebody does challenge it, a librarian, is that what it says, would review it?
The library director.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. So what it says, maybe it doesn't even.
No, it says the librarian will review the material in its entirety.
Yeah.
So that's you.
That's me jumping, yeah.
Library director.
But if I wasn't present for some reason, I was on vacation for 6 months, which would be lovely, but. But like Maureen, depending on it would be the selector for that collection would be the one to review it and to respond.
Then they could appeal it to the board.
Yeah.
I found the changes very reasonable.
And these are coming from best practices from people around the country, and a lot of lessons learned from people who did not have a strong selection policy and a request for reconsideration policy, so we thought this would be a good time to update it to make sure we have our ducks in a row. Yeah.
Did you get any sense from the questions when people are asking you of where people are leaning?
They're on both sides of the topic. Some people are very much against censorship, and so they, they even realize, if I were to try to deny somebody access to that, they might try to deny me access to something I want, and that's a number one thing that people who are talking about not believing in censorship. And then a lot of people are asking, the questions, well, if I want to make sure what my kid checks out at the library is safe, and we're like, that's your job as a parent. You need to be monitoring what your kids are checking out and reading it before them if you don't know the material, and it's not our job to decide what you feel is safe for your children. It's yours. So
Yeah, spot on
How
there.
does that response get received?
Yeah.
Varying levels of understanding. Yeah, and we try to delineate, we're different from a school library, which schools sort of act as a parent. So, if you go to the school library and tell the librarian, I don't want my kids to be able to check out these kinds of books, the librarian will make sure they can't. Whereas the public library is open for everyone, and and so we have to sort of explain those differences to a lot of people, especially people with families.
But it's kind of, it's almost just that parroting back that, parental control, you want parental control, exercise it.
Yeah.
For your child.
Unlike the school library where the child would automatically receive a card. Here, it's up to the parent to determine whether their child receives a library card or not, so that does put that
Well,
in their
now,
control as well, no?
It's a little bit different now. A child can actually come in, and as long as they have a school ID with a picture on it, or can show us their school record that has a picture on it, they can get a library card. We do send a letter home to the parents saying, hey, your kid came into the library and got a library card today. It's a temporary card, and here are the limits, but if you want to give them a full access card, come into the library.
Okay,
And
but
get that one.
so they retain the ability to do that.
Yes,
If that were something
Yeah.
that the parent wanted to do.
yes.
Right, so it's a good limit. At what point does the child, is it at 14 that the child can get the card regardless?
No, it's actually 18. That they can get a full library card. On their own.
It's not younger. Okay. So what do you need us to do to make a motion to approve?
Yes, to update the policy to include these portions. And then when I update the policy manual and post it on our website, it will have the approval date of today by the library advisory board.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the updated with additions and changes to the selection policy as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy. And all in favor, again, please say aye.
Aye.
Right. Any opposition? Okay, put the date on it, Sarah.
All right,
Done deal. Yeah, good work on that.
thank you. Let's go back to the agenda.
Okay, and now backing up to old business, we've got the library district LDAC update.
Oh, I have one thing. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Can I talk a little bit about the Friends thing? It's new business?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is that okay, Heather?
Sure.
Since I thought Dale would be here to do it. I don't know if y'all know, but the city of Sandy has that services contracts. And they give out a total of $60,000 every 2 years to different nonprofits in town. We've in the past given, were you on that board looking at those?
I don't think so.
Okay, I've been on them even before I was on council, but they were given to the Sandy Historical Museum, the Ant Farm, the Community Action Center, Food Pantry, the Chamber of Commerce. And so, you know, depending on what they ask for, you know, 9, 10, 12,000 something each. And so they, and just historically, the museum's gotten one, the chamber's gotten one, Ant Farm has gotten some, although they're getting a lot more grants from the county, so they don't, you know, this is small potatoes compared to that, but they're getting, which is great. And the Community Action Center has also been a repeat person. And so I had tried to get some copies of the Sandy Post for when my husband retired, to get some pictures on the front page while I was doing a little slideshow and stuff. And I started asking, well, who, you know, I asked the library and I asked the museum, and they had a few, you had the newer ones, but not the older ones, you know, going back to like the 90s and stuff like that. And so they said, go down to the, you know, call the Post. So I called the office and they had sent me down to that Gresham Outlook office on Division there in Gresham and put me into this little small room, no windows. And there on these metal bookshelves and bound things was every copy of the Sandy Post that exists from 1936 on.
Wow.
Every copy that exists. Now, I did find out after all that, like just recently, I found out that they actually have some microfiche versions in the University of Oregon
Yeah, I was
library.
gonna say, it's not the only copy.
Yeah.
Well, but they don't have every year. Yeah.
Complete.
And the stuff at the University of Oregon, a microfiche, in order to get that to, you know, look through, you have to they have to send it to a library and make snail mail. And then this library doesn't have a microfiche reader, so whatever library still has a microfiche reader is where you'd have to go to look through it. And I mean, I suppose it's searchable. Microfiche is probably searchable. I don't know. It's been so long since I've ever. Yeah. So the thing, yeah, maybe it's not. And so what they've done is the University of Oregon Library has started this digital newspaper program. And they have gone and scanned to make it searchable, scanned all these old newspapers. They've done the Gresham Outlook, they've done all these historic newspapers that are no longer even in existence around the state. And they do it for 65 cents a page for microfiche and 85 cents a page for the scanning the actual paper copies. And so, you know, I just started thinking about, like, if there's a fire in there and, you know, the big, huge printing press is just down the hall in this big garage, leaking oil and ink and, you know, I mean, it's a cool old press, but still, I just thought, if this building caught fire, you know, either it would burn up, or if they did have sprinklers in that room, and I can't remember if it did, if they would all get wet. And so, you know, I just thought that's tragic to lose that history, and just the idea of being able to go in there and search stuff. And so I started kind of thinking about it, and I kind of talked to the museum folks, and they didn't have the capacity and the bandwidth and all that. And I did a little more research after the fact and found out that really the University of Oregon Library, they have that microfiche. And I kind of did some, you know, just numbers on a quick spreadsheet that showed, you know, we could probably do about 25 years worth of copy, or them doing the scanning and all that. And they put it on their University of Oregon digital, on their library website. And then it's, you know, and then we can link to that. Anybody can sit at home and look through the paper. Stan was like saying, oh, you know, his grandpa opened up a shoe shop in a Thai home restaurant. And they did an article in the newspaper when that opened. He says, I would love to be able to look up that article. And so, you know, it's, and, you know, when our kids were in the newspaper and stuff like that, you know, obituaries and whatnot. And I just thought that was a really cool thing. So I kind of worked with the Friends of the Sandy Library guys and just kind of helped put together a grant for that, submitted it. We looked at all the applications and Stan loved it. You know, everybody thought it was a great idea. And so they've kind of the advisory board has recommended funding it for almost $17,000 to do 25 years. And then, but the city council as a whole has to vote.
Okay.
So that's where it's at. So it's promising. And, but you know, the Friends of the Sandy Library will get full credit for it. And there is some marketing kind of involved. And I talked to Sarah a little bit, just, you know, marketing its availability on Facebook and, you know, Instagram and other things. So people know about it. And I think it's gonna be a great thing. I just love the idea that people can kind of search the history, just going through there and reading the issues, you know, the school strike and all these other things that we've all lived through here in Sandy. And it was just really cool to kind of read what, you know, the conflicts were and the celebrations were and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be fun to have access to that for everybody. So
What, 25 years?
well, that's something that they haven't decided yet. The Friends guys were saying it'd be kind of fun to do the like the 60s, 70s, you know, the JFK and Vietnam War, because I think that's really, you know, important to them. And but the other thing is I said I would work with them on kind of working on additional donations. And so and possible grants if there are any out there. So just, you know, kind of doing some marketing to kind of get some additional donations so we can get, you know, I think our objective is to get all 87 years. So and I don't know if we can get all 87 because I know the Sandy Post has their own archives of the most recent editions that might be viable until they're a certain year old or something like that. But it's kind of a neat thing. So and it kind of gives the, you know, Friends group, you know, additional coverage and visibility. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, very cool. Very nice.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And any other grants that, you know, you're aware of that we can go after, let me know.
Well, there's lots of money out there that is just waiting for recipients.
Yep, dialing for dollars.
Oh, lots and lots and lots of money out there, so. That's a good thing to keep ears and eyes open for, is any grant opportunities that might fit this project. Hello.
Are we headed back to old business?
Yeah, you guys just completely cut out there for a few minutes.
Sorry
So,
about that.
yeah, I couldn't say anything and I wasn't hearing anybody, so. Yes, we are now to old business. Item 4, the LDAC update, please.
So the LDAC update is, the next meeting is likely to be in September. I'm not sure we actually scheduled it yet. Couldn't remember. But the reason why this is on the note is in part because Sarah did circulate the copy of the letter that has been sent by LDAC to the BCC. No word yet, one way or another. My guess is we won't hear until the next meeting.
They haven't like replied at all.
No, no, and I would expect that probably someone come and speak to us at the next meeting. We weren't expecting
A big
an
reply.
immediate reply, so.
Okay.
I'm not aware of it coming up on any agendas.
For the Board
Yeah.
of County Commissioners, I haven't seen it on their agenda.
And I think Grover would have alerted me if it were to come up, so. We'll just wait and see at the next meeting and get an update on that. That's all there is on LDAC.
Okay. Very good. Woodland rent updates.
So
Are we still on for the September 19th meeting?
as far as I know, there's no reason,
Nothing's changed.
nothing has changed. If they had rescheduled it, they would have told us.
Okay.
So I would expect that, yes, the September 19 meeting is down at the county at 4 p.m. And that is with a panoply of people that will include Mr. Deems
This current interim city manager.
Interim city manager, and then Sarah cannot attend,
Right.
but Lynn and I will go and this is another one to consider whether we might want Jerry to attend as having the historical interest. We could ask her. If she-
Need to check with her?
Yes, please.
That's a
And
great idea, Kathy. Thank you.
so the one dilemma I have is I'm not going to be able to go from here to there. I have something that I'm in Portland on, so I will meet you guys there.
The mayor was invited, is he going?
Will he go with Tyler?
I don't know.
The mayor.
Oh, the man.
Do you have a city council meeting before then?
What date is it?
It is
19th.
the 19th at 4 p.m. It's a Tuesday. But the intention was when they were scheduling is they were trying to meet
I'll check.
Mayor Stan's
Yeah.
schedule as well.
Yeah,
So,
I know we've got a bunch of stuff the previous week with the new city manager thing.
mhm.
Right.
Then that should
So-
free him up to be able to attend the meeting on the 19th.
Right, yeah. And then,
I'll check.
Lynn, you talk about September 8th.
So on September 8th, Friday at noon, I have contacted Caroline, who is Commissioner Scholl's assistant, copying Commissioner Scholl. It's very hard to keep saying Commissioner this and Administrator that, and just, anyway, Mark and Caroline. And to referencing the September 19th meeting that they have called and asking or offering to give them a tour of the Hoodland Library. And so she was out of the office when she came back, she set it up. And so Commissioner Scholl and Administrator Schmidt will be there at noon on Friday. I had invited Commissioner Smith, who sends her regrets but appreciates the invitation. And Mike, I'll explain that. And so the original ask was for early in the morning on Friday, so obviously Woodland's not open, part of the issue, so I sent the times. And they said noon would be great, so, and Commissioner Savis has been to the library. So that was actually good to hear.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Laura at the library and let her know that that was happening. I'm hoping someone will be there to help me give the tour.
Well, who would you like to be there?
I don't know, can you do it,
I
Sarah?
can be there.
Yeah.
I figured out my schedule so that I can.
Great, yeah, because it just, to answer the questions and. But if you look up Woodland Library, as I do every once in a while to remind myself of the time, and Google has the reviews, and the first one is, this is a gem of a library.
We all need to kind of submit our Google reviews.
How much did we have to pay for that review?
We're volunteers.
Anyway, so I think that that's, it's a good thing that they're both coming out, they can see it. We have no sense of what they're gonna talk to us about on the 19th.
No, they have not given us-
No idea what it is.
Any indication, and Mr. Johnson will be there as well on the 19th. He is the head of the transportation.
Oh, okay, yeah, he was at the last meeting.
Yes, and he is listed as attending as well. So.
Hopefully there will be some interesting updates at our October.
Yeah, we hope so.
Really hope so.
Positive,
Yes,
not just interesting.
good updates.
Positive, okay.
Right,
I'll add
so,
lucrative.
Yes.
you didn't send out the page I asked you to circulate?
I haven't even gotten to it yet, Kathy. I didn't
Okay.
realize you asked me to circulate it.
I did.
Okay,
I
sorry
did.
about that.
I updated a chart that had accompanied the memo that we had sent to Administrator Schmidt, and the commissioners
Do you want,
last November.
I can pull it up in my email.
Oh, yeah, you could. Yes, you could. That's right, because I did attach it. And this chart was the second chart that was supporting our request for equal treatment. And I don't know if you recall, there were two parts. One of the charts had dealt with how much of a benefit Happy Valley had received in the
Here it is.
allocation. And then the second chart dealt specifically with the amount of benefit being bestowed upon the Oak Lodge and Gladstone libraries, which just got their finalized budget allocations. And when I had prepared the backup to the memo in November of last year, based on what we anticipated Oak Lodge and Gladstone would receive in additional benefit from the county, equal treatment would have given Hoodland between 1.8 and 1.6 million dollars. Based on the amounts that have actually been approved now, we're up to 2.7 million to 2.1 million. So the amounts that have been approved, now you'll see if you go to the bottom of the chart, the actual breakdown. Much of the money is ARPA, which of course the county will say, well, that is in general fund. But my view on that is money that could have been spent anywhere in the county. So, that was county money that was bestowed upon them. And then there's the general fund, the two general fund pieces that have separately been approved.
So I'm seeing like a 10 million and a 6 million.
It was envisioned last May of 2022.
And they got 15 and almost 8.
And almost 8,
Okay.
correct.
Let's go.
Down.
So the question is, this updated document has not been sent to the county yet. And the issue is, how do we send it? Do we give it to Administrator Schmidt on Friday and hand it to him? Do we just email it? So this was a question I wanted to put to the group here, is how to best supplement our.
I guess what I ask, what is our ask?
Our ask is any money at all.
Okay.
What we have asked for is for them in the short term to cover our rent 100%,
Right. Which is,
$20K
Right.
approximately a year, negligible.
yeah, sweat of.
And there's now,
Okay.
and then as they complete the county courthouse and deal with these libraries, then to consider what a long-term,
Permanent building. Yeah.
either permanent building or improved building that they cover the cost of, or it could be a rental, right? I mean, they could decide to rent a building up in the area, but as long as the cost of the building isn't coming out of Hoodland's budget. Now, all of this, of course, will also be subject to long-term, whatever happens to Library District 2.0 and whether any capital funds will be authorized out of tax revenue in the future. We don't know that. But so while we don't know that, and while we take the position that that might never happen, then the position is the county in some way or another should be covering the cost of the building for the premises for the Hoodland Library, separate and apart from the district revenue that is spent on operations. So that's our ask.
What those of us input like to see is a permanent building there's a community building that could house the library, the senior center, maybe even station the deputy there, so we don't have to wait hours for a response. Because, you know, between from Sandy up to Guffey, just past Guffey, you know, it's, unless it's hood to coast, in which case they empty out practice counting goods all over. You know, it's really difficult to get service, so, and we did mention that to the administrator to be thinking about, because there's, you know, the senior center contract is difficult. So anyway, but to this, I would not want to give it to them on Friday.
Okay.
And I don't think it should go to the meeting. I think we should hold it and see just what the proposal is on the 19th, and if it's like nothing wrong, we go, well, you know, let's show you the updated or even have it there ready. The first ask really set them back on their heels, and I feel like we've got them in a more positive frame of mind, so I don't want to push them up. I don't think the dollar amount is the you know, the look at what you're giving them compared to what you should give us. I don't think that's the argument that will convince them, you know, either. As Administrator Schmidt said, Woodland is underserved. It's like, yes, could we make a step or two? So,
Okay,
but
I'm okay with that.
yeah, but have it in our back pocket for the meeting. What do you think?
Should I forward it to Tyler as the person who will be going to the meeting, just so he's aware that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Stan.
Okay,
I think,
But you should tell them that we were not going to
we're not-
circulate it yet. It's
Okay.
extra ammunition.
Okay,
just from my kind of understanding of where things are at. And what I'm hearing, this, you know, what I think is, you know, I understand you all believe is to be important, but I also know all about the community center, rec center, senior center, blah, 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 you know, all that stuff. I know all that.
Yeah.
And politically, I would, you know, my concern is they're not, you know, if they haven't built you a community center yet,
yeah,
they're not going to.
No.
And part of that, you know, in all honesty, is because there's no government entity up there to
Right.
manage.
Yeah.
And no volunteers cannot, you know, it always boils down to who's cleaning the bathrooms in my world. And so, you know, if nobody's there to clean the bathrooms or open and lock the doors or whatever, that's the issue with that. Now, a library though, we have somebody to clean the
Yeah.
toilets and open the doors and staff it and all that. And so that, you know, that may end up being, you know, having something like this library where you
Yes.
have a meeting room like that, but it's a library.
Yeah.
It's not a community center. And so if I was doing it, that's what that would be the bend I was taking, is that we have an entity here. So yes, asking for the full 20,000 for the next, I don't know what year.
We said 3
period
to
is.
5 years until
Yeah.
they come back to us.
Yeah.
With a proposal.
Right, and then I don't know what the courthouse impact is, if that's, you know, 30 years or 5 years, I have no idea what it is. But at that, you know, but yeah, I would say your goal, you know, 20,000 or 23,000, whatever it is, you know, kind of the bottom line. But the ask, you know, the ask is that we start planning for, you know, putting some, you know, couple $1 million a year towards some sort of a building.
Yeah.
That could house a library up there, because you have the entity in the city of Sandy to help run that.
right.
So that I think would, and I'm not sure if that's where it's standing. I'm not gonna speak for Stan, because I do know he kind of mentioned something like, well, you know, city, you know, the county could be managing their own library there if they want, you know, if they want us to help, they need to kind of, you know, sweeten the pot here. That's kind of how Stan's coming from it. So he's, you know, but I think that that's, you know, something that should be our ask, is to start putting some, you know, millions of dollars, $2 million a year towards a building fund, that maybe after 5 or 6 years you have, and I don't know what a library would cost these days. Do you have any idea?
Well, it looks like Oak Lodge and
Gladstone have price tags on them currently.
Like 8 million, yeah, you know, I mean, it's. they got 21,000.
Gladstone's gonna be 6,000 square feet, so if that gives you an idea, Hoodland right now is 2,000 square feet.
Yeah,
So, but even so, that would be
Yeah.
$2 million,
Right.
I mean, $3 million.
but I mean, even, you know, just doing, if they get a $1 or $2 million set aside per year or for biennium in, you know, 6 to 8 years, you'd have the, you know, I'm
Okay.
sure it won't be that cheap then. but-
Sorry, let me correct things before
Okay.
people get too comfortable with that. The actual cost of Gladstone is 10.05.
Oh,
Yeah,
So it's more than
These are the additional funds
oh, okay.
that have been,
Oh, because
This is-
they have reserves,
right, this is the cream that has been added. So Woodland should be entitled to similar cream.
Right.
Well, you're not 21,000 people either.
No, which is why it's broken down to base, that 2.7
Right.
is
Yeah.
based on the service area. That's a per capita calculation.
No, I mean, what would it take, you know, if your population is what now? Five, you know, say, you know, but you plan for a population of 7 to 9, 10,000, something like that for the next 25 years.
Right.
Then you know, what's the comparable number for
Right.
that, for how much a library would cost for that kind of a population?
It will probably be about 3,000 square feet, wouldn't it?
I would think
Plus,
so,
plus
Yeah.
the community.
What is this?
right. This library is 12,000 square feet.
You might want to go a little big for that community room. For
Yeah,
the library room, or
right.
library meeting room.
and honestly,
Community room.
Library meeting room.
I think
I mean, not
it's
easy.
much trying to figure out other ways around the how else to serve the community beyond the library, but you know, feelings are still hurt that it was the county that made us take the building down and then took the money that had been raised to save it and used it to take it down. Just one of those things. I wasn't involved in that, but yeah. It's still not good feeling about that. Which is, you know, it's just county stuff that got in the way of that, you know, it's just no malice, no intention, just what happened, but people are trying to figure out, well, what can you do? And the number of residents, is that based on, like, we have so many second home owners. Are they counted as residents? Because they sure, you know, like libraries and things. Not to mention.
These are based on census. These are census documents, so to the
Yeah,
extent
so they could be counted in there.
yes, I would expect that they would be.
What do you
If
mean?
if the home is not occupied most of the year, it's not counted in the census for Hoodland.
No.
So those are only occupied.
And if they're second homes, they don't count either. You only get counted once in the census on your primary.
All of the homes that are on Airbnb or the
Second
short-term
homes.
rentals are not counted in the number. Which is why it's tough, but and Hoodland is the main area in the county that has that many vacation homes, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so that using that census data is sort of tough for Hoodland, but also, I mean, Hoodland benefits from all of the unincorporated throughout the whole county, right? Because they just separate all the unincorporated money equally based on at least the population. So,
Right, but no more so than a Sandy unincorporated resident, you know, provides. So
but I mean, like saying Happy Valley has a lot of unincorporated residents who have huge homes that pay a lot of taxes in to the system, and all of that money gets divided based on population. So
yes,
Woodland benefits from that system a little bit.
yes.
But the census numbers don't help us.
And those Happy Valley people have mountain cabins.
Your Airbnb people aren't coming to your library to check stuff out.
They might, you know, that's the odd thing, if they're, because people would come back and back, you know, so then they go, oh, yeah, I can go do that, and I can do.
Well,
But anybody who
especially
owns
if they have,
property.
if they have a Clackamas County Library card or they have a Multnomah.
Yeah.
But anybody who owns property up there can get a library card. So if you have a vacation rental up there, but you live, I mean, and you can get a card if you live in Multnomah County too, but you can get a full library card in Clackamas County. Or if you live in over the mountain on the other side in, what county is that?
Hood River County.
Yeah. Is it Wasco County?
Wasco and Hood River.
Yeah, if you live in Wasco or Hood River but own a home in the Woodland area, you can get a library card because you own property. So some of those people do,
Do use the library.
yeah.
No, I was just gonna, I just make that point again about, yes, that whole thing about the community stuff
Yeah.
is, and I know where they're coming from because I worked up there for, 28 years. It's like, if you don't have an entity to manage the resource,
Right.
then, and the park district didn't pass, so then, then there's not the funding to support it. So just focus on the library. That does have a thing. And I just think that, because then they can't argue with the whole,
Right.
that, they can't bring up that.
Yeah,
You have the government agency to kind of help manage that. And if you end up in the future getting something else, beyond in the architectural design to help the community or whatever, that's, might be some grants or something to go after at that point to add on to it or something.
There you go.
I mean, if anything, you could talk about, having a building that you could add on to that you specifically designed for
Yeah, I wouldn't even go there.
possibilities.
Because that's what they're afraid of, that, they're gonna be on the hook for having this new
That's
building.
true.
So they don't, that's why, that's like the third rail. You don't want to go there. You just want to go to the library stuff. What you do later is, first you get the money and then you get them hooked.
Sarah, you probably should arm us with a sense of what size library would be appropriate in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah,
Give us some idea of
cost estimate.
how many square feet.
Because I don't know
Versus what we have now, right? Whether it means expanding into, the adjoining space right there that's already in the building, because those options
Right.
could be exercised if there was capital with which to do an expansion. That building could create more space, but
It's big enough, but.
yeah, so if you, Sarah, could just teach us, what we should be
Aspiring
to in the long term.
And what the price tag is on that, like if it's 3,000 square feet, look up folks who have built a 3,000 square foot library and just get some wag estimates on that.
But even that, we don't need to build the library necessarily. We just need to cover the cost of the building.
Yeah.
So the building we're in, for example, right, which is on, what's the name of that?
Furman's, right?
The firm.
Their office is next door, so they would rent us that office.
I mean, we could expand within that, the building that's there. If the county would both A, cover the rent and B, cover the cost of the expansion, wouldn't have to be a whole new building.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
brand new construction, which is, I think, what should be attractive to them is that, it doesn't necessarily
yeah,
mean doing.
there are.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost,
Yeah.
I think that's something that Tyler could also do for you, is just kind of do a quick, rent own scenario. And of course, rent owning means we're the ones finding the janitor. I mean,
Exactly,
we do that
right?
anyway though, don't
We
we?
do.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, they just do the outside maintenance of the building is the only thing that they do. So anything.
Margaret is
internally,
making
we
a killing
take
on
care
that.
of. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, because they're not cheap, their rents aren't cheap up there now, so. Yeah, but it'd be good to have Tyler at some point do a little kind of a cost of rent own thing and. see.
Tyler and I can work
Yeah.
together on something for the meeting.
Because then that will give Mayor Pulliam more data.
who is the, I've forgotten the name of the former city manager who came to the meeting.
Jordan Wheeler.
Mr. Wheeler.
Okay. Because Administrator Schmidt asked him to stay behind, because it's like something was percolating with ideas that we never got any idea there, just some things we're thinking about. Did you ever hear anything out of it?
I could call Jordan and ask him.
Yeah, see what that was.
And it may have not have had anything to do with that meeting too,
Yeah.
because they.
I
Totally.
A lot
If
of-
I had to
They had
guess,
another
if
meeting.
I had to guess, it was an apology for the email that he had sent, if I had to guess.
But he started.
Yeah, started.
Started, yeah.
But
But I think he, yeah.
But Jordan wasn't there at the start of the meeting, so yeah, he was late.
Maybe it was,
Yeah, and I will say that Jordan made it very clear that, very clear, that his interest was purely in Sandy and making sure that Sandy did not front one more penny than it was supposed to for Portland.
Who was that?
Jordan.
It was very clear,
Yeah,
don't you agree?
well, I think he was trying to get money out of it.
But it was also to the extent of almost it's a dying community.
Oh.
No,
I don't
no,
think we
I
have
would
that.
disagree with that. I would disagree with that. But what he was trying to stress on them is that,
Just
and
because.
there's terminology that is used in the county. They call Hoodland a branch. Hoodland is not a branch of the Sandy Library. Hoodland is its own library, which happens to be managed by the city.
Yeah.
And according to the state library, it's a branch of the state library.
I know, but that, we just have to keep saying, that we are, the city is a management function using the dollars that are allocated to that community. And that just has to be stressed to the county sometimes.
What
that-
I was referencing was his comments about, well, the population is going down and so sort of a disinterest in a community.
Oh,
where
yes, the population is not going down. It continues to increase. It continues to increase.
It may.
It's not increasing as fast as Sandy is.
It has lost families. I've said this a million times, when my children were going to Welch's, there were 600 students in the school. There's less than 400 now and going down. Partly because of the SDR problem. Which the college is also trying to address, but
But the population does continue to increase. It has not gone down.
well, that was key because it was very much that, and that's what I was reckoning. And I thought later, have you even been there? Because it did not sound like he just passes through, as so many people do.
I would recommend this, whatever this ask is, and it's the rent or whatever, kind of get that into a paragraph and circulate it internally to all that are.
So that everybody has the talking points.
Yes, here's our
Yeah.
talking points, what we want, here's our ask, well, in the short term, we want
We
this,
did.
and in the long term, we
Yeah,
want
it
that.
is in that.
It was in the original memo.
Yeah.
And it says,
Yeah.
what equivalent treatment of Hoodland could mean. The county should have provided some time of community center or building to the Hoodland area years ago. But no, if the county were to treat Hoodland as it has Gladstone and Oak Lodge, X many dollars could provide the library a permanent home.
We want to make it like one paragraph, two bullet points.
All right, hold on, Kathleen. So in the short term, the county should pay Hoodland's rent until the county solves how to provide a permanent county building to house the Hoodland Library.
Well, until the county provides a permanent house, permanent building for the Hoodland Library.
Because
Not just until they decide how to solve it,
Yeah,
because that
I mean,
could be 10 years away.
that
from-
implies-
You should have made
Building
that
a Hoodland
change in the prior
Library.
memo, Sarah.
like I said, just a
We could
couple
change the
bullet
talking
points.
points a little bit.
Yeah, I would just make it, half a page, just so Stan and Tyler and everybody's,
Yeah.
these are our two, not 3 page, whatever, just
Right,
really
right.
short, sweet.
I'm just intrigued because the county has called this next meeting. So that's a lot of people to put into the meeting to say no.
Good point.
That is a good point.
I think our strategy is to, so we called the meeting, and we're really interested to hear your proposal.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's exactly where we are.
That's how we are, yeah.
Yes.
And you need to, it's not like you go in with really high hopes, and the ask is actually very small. We'll just see what ideas they have and where it goes.
I would, like I said, do that research as far, not only the rent versus own thing, but also what would it cost? I have no idea what Margaret rents out that whole building for, but well, I call her up and I mean, I wouldn't go, I don't know how you do that, but figure it out. But just try to figure out, if you were to try to get that whole building
Yeah.
or a different building out there, what would it cost you
To meet your new price. I know she does give us a discounted rent because we're a nonprofit. So if we were a money-making business, she would be charging more rent than what she charges for the space we have. So I mean, based on that idea, we could probably figure out the square footage of the building and how much additional we think it would
Part of
cost.
the reason she does that is because she doesn't have to pay real estate taxes on
I know,
that portion, right? So she doesn't have to charge you as
yeah. Yeah, and it's a win-win for both of us, for sure.
I know that son David has come down to run the business, so it's probably David who was talking to, I'm not sure if my mother is.
Margaret's still my contact person, so, yeah, and she responds very quickly, yes.
So you could figure out if you were to get that whole building, what the cost might be approximately.
Yeah.
The whole building is big.
It's big,
It's
yeah,
We don't actually need a whole building.
yeah.
And we don't get the.
From the library to the laundromat.
Right, but if you're talking about doing, community center, blah, 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 I don't know, of course. I'm not talking about that. We're just talking about the whole building.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had on
Okay.
that.
Okay. So I have a practical note, as far, maybe it's not practical, but it's mechanical regarding the digital and audio recording, and that is, there can be no side conversations near where the speaker is, because it makes it almost impossible for whoever is actually got the floor speaking to be heard. So I don't know if any of that's happening, but it's just muffled, delayed, weird digital stuff, but it's good to note for future meetings.
Thank you, Heather.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for all that. And now to the next piece. Let's go to, you've already done the staff update, Sarah. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Bit more, so I printed out, I don't know if everybody has a list of current library advisory board members and their contact information. I printed it out. And I can email you a copy, Heather.
Great.
And it has our open position on there, you'll see. But wanted to make sure everybody had that. And if anybody's information has changed or is inaccurate, please let me know. I can update it. And then I wanted to let you know that Rebecca and I we purchased our plane tickets yesterday to go to the conference, and the bookmobile conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So the second week of October, we will be gone to try to look at bookmobiles and figure out our plans.
Saw that from the minutes, so that's
Yeah,
exciting.
it's exciting. It is exciting. We do have to figure out, we'll have to figure out funding, because the model that we wanted, they're no longer making, but, yeah, of course. So, and that one was much less expensive than most of the bookmobiles, but I think, well, when we meet the bookmobile vendors, we'll be able to see what possible options we have and things like that, and figure out how much it will really cost us, so.
I was watching something, it's on Instagram or whatever, and they were using like a RV, a drivable RV that had been converted, or I don't know if it, if that's how it came or what, but it was just basically an RV that. Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, there are lots of options, for sure. So, yeah.
One more quick question is, for our unincorporated seats, like, does it just have to not be in city limits?
So the unincorporated seat that Alex had, we specifically designated for Hoodland. So we want to try to maintain 2 members from the Hoodland area. And Lynn is one of those members currently, so, and Alex's position is the other position.
Okay, so it's,
So that would be, if we had members from the unincorporated area who applied, who were in Hoodland and who were in Sandy, we might give more preference to the Hoodland people.
right, okay.
Yeah. So we need that representation from all areas of the service area as our goal.
Yeah.
Okay. And Sarah, just a flash thought regarding the bookmobile is, might be appropriate to have a conversation with Andy Howell, regarding vehicles.
Yes,
And, that's what we do all the time in transit. So,
yes,
like Kathy was saying, not so much refurbished, but modified something.
yeah, I have talked to her previously when she was going to decommission buses and things like that. About possibly, taking one of those to refurbish.
Yeah,
Our goal is to have something smaller than a bus. So that we don't have to have CDL licenses to drive it. So if they had a smaller vehicle that they were getting rid of or something like that, we could consider it.
mhm.
Or just, I have conversations with her about it anyway, Heather, so. Yes, it is on my mind.
Okay, good, because we have all sizes of buses, so,
I know,
yeah.
Is someone supposed to be here?
the cleaner. It's here.
There's like a lot of really loud songs.
Doors open, so maybe we were.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's on outside.
Excuse me.
Okay, any other business?
Dale, I gave them an update on the grant,
Okay,
because I didn't know. Yeah. Under new business.
Can I move to adjourn?
Bring it on, Kathy.
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. Meeting adjourned at 7:07.